Yes, Leland Live, Talk 99.5, Douglas Cooling and Heating, ready to get on over to your house and give you that spring tune-up. I know by the calendar it's not necessarily spring yet, but we do change the time next week. We'll be in the 80s by this weekend. Chances of storms this weekend. But we're heading into spring. Storm season seems to have arrived a little bit early. I'm starting to see some trees budding. So it's time to get that thing checked. You'll be using it already. This is not as critical as the fall tune-up. That can involve carbon monoxide and fire hazards. But this one's just good, proper maintenance on a mechanical part of your house. Doesn't cost much money at all, considering the long-term benefit of knowing that your system is good to go. The charge is good. There are no leaks. There are no other problems. No little problem is going to cause a big problem. I had a system years ago that went out, and it really started with about a $20 part that failed and caused some other things to go down. It was a lesson learned. Douglas has taken care of me for a little over 16 years now, and they're ready to come to your house. Get on the plan and go see them at calldouglas.com. CALL, calldouglas.com. Well, it looks like even after most of their mullahs were blown up in a meeting this morning to select a new supreme leader, they have come up with a new supreme leader, AJ, and it is, I can't pronounce his name. That's how I'm going to pronounce it from now on. He apparently is, I believe, the eldest son of the Ayatollah Khomeini that we just blew up.
So he was the guy, like, when the president does the State of the Union, there was like that one person that kind of stays in a bunker somewhere.
I don't know.
Kind of hides out.
I like to picture him as the Hunter Biden of Iran. He's now he's running the show. Clearly not their first choice, so they had to get to this point. He's at least 136 on the list. His nickname in high school was Boom Boom. I'm just trying to give you some background. How long do you think he'll last, AJ? Any odds? Has Polymarket put an odds on Boom Boom making it through that with his dad soon enough?
Well, he may not need to be going anywhere. Don't tell your location.
Yeah. Don't have any meetings. How about that? We could give him some tips. Stay off social media. Just kind of chill, dude.
And why would you put that information out? At least, like, don't put it out just now. I guess I get it. You got to act like, everything's under control in Iran.
They got to tell their people who's in charge. They don't know.
They don't know.
What are we going to do without a supreme leader? What do we do? And now they got a supreme leader, which, by the way, there was a meme this weekend. Jessica shared it with me. The question is, what's the difference in a normal cleric and the supreme leader? The supreme leader, if you go by the strict standards of their version of Islam, the supreme leader has sour cream and tomatoes. So you felt that coming. You got the rim shot ready.
Yeah, I felt that one. Yeah.
They've had a meeting in. Thank you. Sympathy rim shot. That's fine. They've had a meeting with Rubio came and briefed the Senate, and naturally the senators are all trying to get FaceTime and have a cute little soundbite. First among them, of course, Fetterman just came out and said, "Hey, go America! This guy's on team blow up Iran. Good for him." But then you had Lindsey Graham, who the most dangerous place in Washington right now is anywhere between a TV camera and Lindsey Graham. That's a dangerous place to be. But he ran right to the cameras and was talking tough. Sometimes he's Pansy Graham. Today, he wants to be Manzy Graham. Here he is.
So I've never felt better about how this ends. It's not if they fall, it's when they fall. It's not us alone, it's us with the region. Europe is now getting into the game. So I want to compliment President Trump for starting something that the world is now gravitating to. This regime is in its death throes. The amount of firepower coming in the next day or two from us is going to be overwhelming. And when you add to the mix the Arab capability, then it's going to be overwhelming. The demise of this regime is at hand, and the goal is to make sure they can never be a threat like they were before.
So there'll be other sound bites, and I don't know if Rubio is going to readdress the public again. He talked to the media going in, so we'll be tracking that for you. For his part, let's flip now from the battlefield and the blowing up of the mullahs today, and again, a very secretive scientific nuclear research facility of some type, presumably underground. It was also blown up today. So little by little, they're losing their Navy. They've already lost all their air defenses. They don't have an Air Force. They're losing their nuclear capability, which, again, if you listen to Rubio strictly, that's our mission. The Israelis are doing all the personnel shots. We're doing all the infrastructure stuff and trying to clear a space so that the Iranian people who've lost 30 or 40,000 of their own in the streets to this bloody regime can take their government back. And then it's up to them. We're not trying to run the place, tell them who to pick. We're staying out of that. That's not our region of the world, but we freed these people. We hope they can seize the moment. We've seen that go wrongly, especially in Iraq, but we'll see what happens. Persia is a different place. This is not Iraq. I keep trying to emphasize that. This is a completely different culture, same religion of sorts, but a completely different culture and approach to governance and modernity, if you want to put it that way. All right, so we got all that going on. Let's go to Trump's statement and what they did today about the oil prices. And I think this eased fears on the stock markets. This is just a good top of the hour update. So, and I'll go back through the analysis of this. Many of you know, if you've looked at the map of this region and all the news coverage and refamiliarized yourself, the Strait of Hormuz is that narrow turn between the Gulf of Oman and the Gulf of in the Persian Gulf. It is where it said 20% of the world's oil goes through that strait. You know, of course, there's the Suez Canal and there are other choke points in that region of the world. But the Chinese particularly are suffering from the shutdown of the strait. Now, the Iranians did not shut the strait down. They did not have the capability to shut the strait down. They don't have a navy. But what shut the strait down to all traffic, other cargo in addition to the oil tankers and everything else, were the insurance companies, Lloyd's of London and those types, that started tripling and sometimes 5 times the normal insurance rate to insure these carriers, these super tankers and others. They jacked up their rates, and then they warned the people they insured, don't run your boat through the Strait of Hormuz. We're not liable for your coverage if something goes wrong. And that stopped all traffic in an instant. So yesterday, the markets kind of shrugged all this off. Today, that word spiked the oil markets, which you're seeing at the gas pumps this afternoon already. And then that spooked the stock market. Stocks dropped like 1,000 points this morning on the word that the strait was effectively closed, even though it wasn't even the Iranians that did anything to close it. It was these insurance companies. So Trump came out today, and again, this administration, I'm here to tell you, based on what I'm seeing right now, has thought through all of the consequences in their game. That, you know, they call it a tabletop scenario of not only the battle plan, but the repercussions. They anticipated the Iranian drones flying around. I don't know that they anticipated the Arab states getting involved with us, but they have. That's a good sign. That's a sign of unity of the world against Iran right now. That's all been great. There have been casualties. Our consulate was hit with a drone today. That's just part of war. But apparently they were ready for a potential Strait of Hormuz trouble. And here's what the president put out. There is something called the United States Development Finance Corporation. It goes by DFC. And they already have funding, and the president has authorized the DFC at a very reasonable price, he says, to ensure and guarantee the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy, going through the Gulf. This will be available to all shipping lanes if necessary. He says, here's his statement. If necessary, the United States Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The United States' economic and military might is the greatest on earth. More actions to come. So they had a plan. And as soon as the insurance companies did this within hours, they had the funding for it. They had an action plan. So these shippers, hopefully they'll get confidence in that, start moving the ships again. That is both a financial guarantee and a military escort. The ships probably have never been safer. They've always had to deal with Somali pirates off that coast, with the situation in Yemen, the Strait of Hormuz. It's a dangerous place in the world to be shipping. And by the way, the irony does not escape me or others that know our history. Our first foreign war effort ever, the reason we have a Navy, the reason we built the United States Constitution, were the Muslims off the Barbary coast, which is modern-day Libya, attacking our merchant ships and stealing stuff and taking hostages and demanding ransom. And even in those days, and I've read so many books on this subject, it's such a good story. It's where the Marine Corps got its name Leathernecks. That's a whole nother thing, too. The Muslim fighters in those days had these big curved swords like you see on Aladdin or whatever, and they're made for chopping off heads. Why? Because it says in the Quran, chop off the head of your enemy. And so they're all about cutting some heads. And so the Marines found out they could tie this thick leather thing around their neck, and it stopped those blades from cutting their heads off during fights. And that's where the phrase leathernecks comes from, all the way back in around 1775, 1776, in those days, when all that stuff was eventually constructed, and we had to deploy that ship to go and not only rescue Americans that had been kidnapped by these people in this barbaric culture, but also to escort our ships to get the ships through. Look at us all these years later. 250 years later, we're escorting our ships through the same region again. A little bit different area, but generally the same region for the same politics of an ancient culture versus modern commerce. And it's right there in front of us. History always repeats itself. And so, again, why did we do that? The lesson is pretty strong. Congress, just like now, was very cowardly about war, and for good reason. No, we were a new nation. We weren't a superpower. Weren't that wealthy. We had not been industrialized yet, and the country was kind of two halves. You had an industrial and a banking sector in the north. You had an agricultural sector in the south, in the southern states of the original 13 states. The southern states were the slave states. The northern states were not. We had an internal battle immediately over that issue to end all that, and they were trying to hold this little uniting of states together. And then here comes the idea that we would go fight a foreign war. We were still worried about the British coming back, which they did eventually. We were worried about the French and the Indians coming over the hill, over the Appalachians, and into these colonies, into these new states. So they were all kind of things to worry about here at home. But now we were getting trade, and commerce was essential back then to us getting off the ground as a country. To be able to export and import was essential. And so it became incumbent upon Congress to try to do something. And they were completely dysfunctional. They had decided to pay the ransom. It's fascinating history. They had decided to pay off the Barbary pirates, pay off these Muslim pirates, and get our people back and let it go. Jefferson, what enlightened Jefferson? This is so interesting. What made Jefferson realize what needed to be done there? That's when they finally decided we got to go to war. We got to get these people back. We got to have a navy. We got to have a way to defend ourselves. He read the Quran. He's one of the only people of that day that even understood what was in it. He had his own copy of it. I think it's in the Smithsonian. Thomas Jefferson had a Quran. There have been idiots throughout history that think, oh, well, he sympathized with these people. No, he wanted to know the enemy. You got to understand what are these crazy ass people about? And he read the Quran, and it freaked him out, and he built the Navy. And I would tell you, even today, the words in that book have not changed. The beliefs in those words have not changed. That's why the violence and the pattern of attacks in history and attempts to dominate and to control are still the same. They've never changed. It was the same when they invaded Spain and built the Cordoba Mosque. It's the same as they spread throughout North Africa and into the Iberian Peninsula. By the way, ironically, the Spanish won't let us use any assets close to the region out of Spain. They've got a super left-wing president. So we have cut off all trade with Spain. Good luck, Spain. I saw their nice church. It was beautiful, but I could never go there again. It'd be fine with me. So a little history to bring you back full circle to understand this ain't our first rodeo with this culture, with these people, with this belief system. But the difference is now it's here with us. We have a woman in our Congress, a couple of them, that have these same beliefs, that believe in that same text, that believe in that same predicate for their morality and their hatred of the West. It's Y'all, it's in the book. I've always taken exception when people call it extremist, and by Western standards, this stuff looks extreme. By their standards, it is a fundamental interpretation of the book. You see that in all religions, to be honest with you. In Christianity, you got people that so literally interpret things in the Bible, they wind up living these strict, bizarre lifestyles. A lot of them misrepresenting their own text. Other faiths can do that too. You've got different sort of levels and belief systems within Judaism, where you've got Hasidic Jews and other parts of their faith. Some are more secular, some are more strict in their dress and everything they do in their lives. And when it comes to Islam, the people in Tehran the Shia in Tehran do not want to be in the modern world. Their holy belief, they believe God has ordained their supreme leader to eliminate Israel. That it's in the text, it's in their beliefs, it's in their teaching, it's in their training, it's what they teach their kids. And if in your own faith you believe that what you're doing was ordained by God and you must adhere, you're going to keep doing it. You're not going to abide by a peace deal with Barack Obama. You're not going to take his cash and suddenly decide, oh, capitalism's great. You're going to keep killing, and you're going to keep building a war machine. You're going to keep doing what they did with all that plane load of cash. I got that Trump soundbite on that today. We've talked about it. I've talked about it since Saturday when this happened. What a dumb era in our country to embolden these people. But again, I said it last hour. George Bush helped them as much as Barack Obama did by taking out Iraq. There was no check on them in that world. And what did that do? They alarmed the hell out of the Saudis and the UAE and Oman and all those other countries. Qatar, all those countries are freaked out because they know these are end times crazy people amongst their own faith. This is the only way you can deal with them. It goes all the way back to Thomas Jefferson. Back here in just a minute. All right, man, we got to go fast. Southern Skies Dermatology. I was just in there yesterday getting all checked out, half naked. Yep, they took. I'm good to go. I told this story yesterday. I'm not sure if you heard me, AJ, but they looked at me and my wife at the same time in the same room. I was a little embarrassed. She was joking around. She was like, I saw all that. I've seen all that before." I was like, not in this kind of lighting. This is like doctor's office lighting. That's where they focus on details. She was looking for her Walmart receipt. I think she wanted to take me back. Now it was good. It feels good to both. You probably have somebody in your life too that you want to get checked, but they're hard headed. And I used to be that way too about doctor's office visits. I would just go, I'm fine. Man, cancer is not something you want in your life. If you've ever known somebody that's dealt with it, the one thing we can do, if I told you it was preventable just because you need to do your part, you do it. So do it and get that relief. Get the same relief I felt yesterday. I was good to go. It was a simple visit. Put on that little paper gown. They check you out head to toe. Give you, if you got any areas of concern for me, I had an area. I was like, what is this thing? They're like, oh, you're just getting old. And that was actually good news. Yeah, you don't want to worry about that stuff. And prevention is everything. And catching it early is everything that leads to prevention. So do it and do it with the experts at Southern Skies. They were so good, so helpful. I appreciate everybody there and how they treated us yesterday. Y'all go get checked. Do it. Put it on your list, especially before we get in the summer and we're outside in the sun all the time. It's southernskiesdermatology.com, southernskiesdermatology.com. All right, y'all, 435, Leland Live. If you want to get in here, it's a good time. We're kind of slowing down just a little bit. I think we're caught up on the headlines. I did see this too. I keep kind of going back and forth between the economics that are affecting us with this war situation and then things that are happening in the theater, so to speak, in the battlefield. Apparently, and it's hard to verify the way the internet's running nowadays. People are just making up fake stories. I don't know if it's bots or whatever. And there's propaganda reason behind all this stuff, but a couple of reports that apparently an Iranian drone may have hit a Russian LNG tanker, and I can't imagine what that explosion would be like. I don't know how fortified those LNG tankers are, and it could just be an attempt to disable a tanker and create an obstruction. But man, are they really trying to draw the Russians in this thing? The Russians are busy right now with the Iranian situation, and of course have been getting substantial help from the Iranians with the Ukrainian situation, that is. And so they've been a little quiet kind of on both sides of the issue so far. A lot of folks are questioning why would I want to go back into the theology of my somewhat understanding, but limited understanding of what the Iranians are about, what this government's about. And people are going, why are they drawing other nations into this fight? And that's not really their calculation. By attacking their Arab neighbors, by attacking some of the European assets. For example, Portugal, they were sitting this one out. Now, Portugal has said, hey, no, you can use our air bases. We may even help you with some attacking. So the momentum of nations, and by the way, the Saudis have incredible amounts of firepower to bring to bear. We now have conventional aircraft over Iran because they don't pose an anti-aircraft threat like they did. We're hitting them with B-52s now. And let me tell you what that means. We've got these incredible, stealthy, sophisticated fighters and bombers, but they're good for sneak attacks. Their payloads are, not really limited, but we've only got so much of those assets. They're very expensive assets to operate. But when we can turn on the old school B-52s and just fly at will with this gigantic train load of munitions over certain areas, precision guided nonetheless, but the volume that we can deliver into that country right now with conventional aircraft, non-stealth aircraft, is going to completely change everything that's happening on the ground. These people are foolish to continue to resist. Back to the premise about why they hit their neighbors. Part of that calculation, and I've mentioned it a couple of times since we got on air this week, is to create a high cost for anybody that would ally with the United States so that there's eventually you'll start seeing, it'll happen here in America with these bedwetters on the left, start trying to create a theme for opposition. Like, you remember when they took off all their Ukrainian flags and started wearing Palestinian headscarves and protesting in the streets. And then it was they hate ICE. They'll get those people fomented in the streets with some theme, some occupation, like they did the weirdos that went and tried to fight with ICE in the middle of Minnesota and got themselves killed. They tried to make martyrs out of them. I saw a meme today with, what was that girl's name? Robin something. And the dude, they had the dude nurse that got him, that tried to pick fights until he got shot. So they still pretend these people are innocent victims of our government. But somebody added the Khomeini in there too. There's like, never forget, say their names. I mean, that's where they're heading. That's where all these people are heading. So they'll foment unrest here in the United States. They'll try to pull off perhaps some terror hits. It's still not known whether this guy from Senegal was directly connected to a terror organization. We know he announced his intentions with his wardrobe that day. It's also believed that this guy had overstayed. I heard he was a naturalized U.S. citizen, and then I've also heard on some of the reporting that this guy had a visa, and he overstayed his visa, and he was being kept here and supported by an NGO that was helping with this whole immigration flood. You see what I mean? The Biden administration let the guy overstay his visa and then funded some of these NGOs that were giving him money to hang around so he could kill people. I don't know if he was part of a cell. Doesn't look like it. He didn't seem that sophisticated, but still there he was, and he killed those people, and the third person was announced dead today. So back to the Iranian approach. So they're hitting Oman. They're drawing Arab nations into it. And you're seeing a multinational, multi-ethnic, really multi-regional group of countries that are all bringing their resources now to take on what's left of Iran. And so part of it, again, it's the calculation that they put pressure on the world to start leaning on the United States to go ahead and end it quicker, try to buy themselves time, get the bombing to stop so they can survive. And so it's an all out approach. There's another theory that this is more part of their end times philosophy. I just went through some of that last hour where they've got this fatalistic view of the world. Now, let me take you a little bit deeper. Some in Shia Islam believe that the world's going to end with a great battle. And by the way, um, Christians have a similar belief when you read Revelations, that there will be a big ending to this whole thing, right? And some faith systems really subscribe to that. The Iranians believe, though, that they are ordained to bring that war about. In their text, they called their enemy the Romans. Okay. At the time when all that was written, the Romans were the superpower. Uh, and then, of course, that changed over the centuries. But they called Westerners were just referred to as basically Romans, right? But that means everybody. That means the West. That even means fellow Muslims that don't adhere to their belief system. And their belief system is that there's going to be this great battle. Some of them even believe Jesus is going to come back and fight with them. And this 12th Imam, who's been down in a little hole, a well of some sort, is going to come up out of the ground and slay the West. But in order for that to happen, they've got to bring about this great battle with the West. It's their job. It's part of what was the mystique with ISIS when we started having the rise of ISIS during the Obama administration, because some people believe that that battle will start in Dabiq, Syria. The Al Qaeda actually had a magazine about their organization called Dabiq. It's hard for us to wrap our Western minds around a belief system that's like that, but it's there and it's real to them. It's what they fundamentally believe. It's what they've taught for generations. So they think they're obligated to bring about this battle and take on Israel and the Romans, basically. And so they want to be provocative. And to do that, they need the weaponry to do that. Now you see where we're getting somewhere. Not only are they technically sophisticated and educated people in their scientific community, and their capability to deliver weapons. And again, we transferred a drone to them under Obama. He let them keep a drone. And nowadays, and I've put this theory out there before, I'm sometimes wondering, based on what we finally learned about him and his worldview, sometimes I wonder whether his administration let that drone get transferred like that on purpose. If he wanted the Iranians to be armed as a check on Israel, which was his belief and still is, by the way, this former president of our country. He wanted them to be in power so that there wouldn't be an Israeli superpower in the region. The Iranians would keep them in check. Then they needed the technology to do it. What better way? You couldn't just sell your country out and give them a free drone. But if one were to happen to land and you didn't send the follow-on aircraft to destroy it, and they were able to take it and reverse engineer it and learn drone technology, which is exactly what happened. Huh. Just a conspiracy theory, nothing to see here. But it happened, and it was a huge benefit to them. And they went from being newbies at the technology in the early 2000s all the way post 2008 to being one of the biggest prolific developers and exporters of drone technology. The multi-warhead technology was the same thing. Clinton gave that technology transfer to the Chinese, by the way, in a trade deal. He allowed them to learn how to shoot multiple nuclear missiles off one missile, nuclear weapons off one missile. That was during the Clinton era. It was a huge, huge mistake. And it was in a trade deal, which, by the way, the Republicans got us into too. Several previous presidents. I've gone through George W. Bush as well, taking out Iraq, leaving a power vacuum, letting Iran get more strength in the region. Iraq had kept them in check for a long time. Hussein was a thug, but in some ways he was our thug against the Iranians, and everybody's a bad actor over there. Oh, it goes on. We were helping the Afghanis fight off the Soviets as part of the Cold War, paying Osama bin Laden to build tunnels so we could shoot down their helicopters with missiles, and then Afghanistan wound up hosting the Taliban, which attacked us on 9/11. There are no friendly actors in that region over the sequence that we dealt with in Iran is still the centerpiece of the whole thing. Again, back to their fatalistic view. So they're hitting everything with, some believe, a decentralized dead man switch operation. Let me see if I can describe how that, again, this is all theory based on what's happening right now and how they're reacting. So they don't have a central leadership. The Israelis really have taken that out. We've taken out their eyes in the sky. We've taken out their navy. We're taking out their infrastructure. We're taking out all of their ability to fight. But the command and control apparatus is being taken out by the Israelis, and they're down to Junior Khomeini Jr., a.k.a. Boom Boom, from the soccer team in high school. We're down to this now. You remember Austin Powers, AJ? Suddenly I remember Dr. Evil's son.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Scott?
Yeah.
Scott. He's like, why don't we just take a gun and kill him? Suddenly I picture like Dr. Evil's kids in charge now. So that's who they've chosen. And until they get a leadership structure and top-down commands for what they need to do, because again, this is theological. It's religious. They believe they're directed by God, and they need their holy man to tell them what God is saying to do now. Again, I'm not sympathizing. I'm trying to understand. So if you understand your enemy, just like Thomas Jefferson, when I went through that earlier, you understand what you're up against. And I think this administration understands all that stuff. You can't reason with these people. You can't bribe them. You can't negotiate with them. If their whole being is that God has called them to do these things, they're not going to quit doing these things. And they were well on their way to being able to threaten the world and bring about that big end times battle. And some would want to compare that to the Christian beliefs in Revelation, which, AJ, you'll get a kick out of. Jessica was talking to me about that today. She was reading Revelation. She was talking about it. And I was like, well, it's like our friend Damien says, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Right.
I used a Damian Mitchell quote in reference to Revelations. I'm just going ahead and admit that. So anyway, so they're lashing out. Once they're decentralized, the theory is they had a war theory that could work without leadership, where there were existing commands based on the dead guy, who again would have gotten this from God, that they take these drones that have been hidden all over the world on boats, underground, in silos, in basements, wherever they are. They're very portable and mostly lightweight and easily movable and almost autonomous. Some of them pre-programmed to hit the target based on their own orientation using GPS and whatever. And these would launch as soon as the people on the ground can get them launched at multiple targets that may have been picked years ago. Our infrastructure, their neighbors. So the point of going through all that is to say, I don't think they're just lobbing stuff willy-nilly in the chaos. Some of that clearly is still going on too. Not knowing how many of them are dead, how many of them are still active. It's kind of like the Japanese, the old stories from World War II when the Japanese, the war was over and you'd have some of their war fighters hunkered down on an island. They didn't know the war was over and they were still fighting. See, while the leadership is gone and that regime really doesn't exist right now functionally, the vestiges of it that were put in place and the decision making as to what they would do was done a long time ago. Just like we planned it, they had a plan. And that's where some of these drones are coming from. That's why you're still seeing fires. And being decentralized makes it harder to find. On one hand, that was a pretty smart strategy of theirs. It's a failed strategy because ultimately they'll just run out of munitions and the ability to launch them. But at the same time, they'll still go all and meet in one building. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But just know, I go through these long explanations, sometimes to understand myself and to retrace my thoughts, but mainly to understand, if you understand the fervent belief system of a theocratic nation, it's also a brutal dictatorship, in how they see the world. They're not just going to surrender, not at the top. Now, down below, eventually they got homes, they got wives, they got kids, they've got a chance to stay alive. Some of them will face reality and strip off their uniforms and blend in with the population. We largely believe that will be those police forces that are on the ground that are so brutal to their own citizens. Those are the guys. It wasn't the guys operating the missile silos. It was their domestic police force that killed those 30,000 people in the last month. Those are the people on the ground that have to be confronted if the Iranians are going to be able to flee their homes and go into the streets and rush to the capital and install a new leader. That's an oversimplification, but to get that going, you got to take away that fear on the ground. And that's going to take more than air operations. So, what is the plan? And how do we get, say, weapons to these rebels who've been defenseless, by the way, which is why they've been slaughtered, which one more uh, chain of thought, which is another reason we have a Second Amendment in this country. So we're never, as individuals, left defenseless to fight it out against our own government. Just think of those people, if they'd all just had the basic arms that we all have, a lot of us have here in the United States, when the police started going down the street, rounding people up and just shooting them dead cold for exercising well, they don't have any speech rights, but in our case, we would. The two of those go together. Your right to protest and speak out means you also may have to defend yourself against those you're challenging. And our founders thought that through. And here we sit 250 years later with those protections in our founding document. They don't have those in Iran, and so they've lost family members, and they're martyrs everywhere. And in their name, because of their blood, I believe these people are going to overthrow this regime. They've gotten the assistance they've asked for 47 years. It came from the air, from the West, and it destroys a lot of myths in their culture at the same time. Axiom Tax Resolution Group bringing you the show tonight. Your tax money's paying for a lot of this stuff. And here comes the tax man again. Here comes that bill. What are we, a little over a month out? We're about 6 weeks out. It gives me the heebie-jeebies because I haven't put all my stuff together. I'm going to work on that this weekend. It's time to file. If you've got past tax debt and you're just a little freaked out right now because it's piled up, you still can't pay it. Now you got another bill coming, and it's overwhelming. Just know that there's help, and it's Axiom Tax Resolution Group. It's our friend Perry Cronin, who knows this stuff inside and out and can absolutely help you. He is smart. There's not a soul in this country that knows more than him, and I love that he's local. He can sit down with you locally and help you get these things straightened out, help you settle for less than you owe, help you stop the harassment and the attacks on your assets, and get it worked out. He knows who to call, what to offer, what the law affords, what the deadlines are. The IRS won't tell you if they missed a deadline, but Perry will know that, and he'll help you with it. Y'all reach out to him. Let him help. Life's overwhelming. We've been through some tough economic stuff the last 6 years. If it's piled up on you too, get some sleep again at night with Perry Cronin at Axiom Tax Resolution Group. He'll meet with you face-to-face. 205tax.com. The phone number is 872-1100, Axiom Tax Resolution Group. Y'all, we're kind of in an engagement season right now. I tell you about this a lot, especially since Valentine's Day. A lot of folks thinking about popping the question. If it's you or somebody you know, or maybe somebody that's going to pop the question to you, y'all get to know the Thompsons at Allen and Company. It really is special to have your own custom work done, have somebody that gets it, take care of everything you need when it comes to these beautiful things. You want to keep them forever. This is a long-term gift. And so get it right with the patience. I love that part too. They're not pushy. They don't do any sales jive that you get in some of the chain stores. This is a family business, the Thompson family. They just want you to be happy and come back and bring your friends. And that's how they do their business. Allen is a master jeweler and can design and create and do anything you want. If you've got some specialty things you want to do, something unique or not, he can handle it. Same thing applies to repairs and upgrades and cleanings and the stuff that you have to do, the maintenance you do from time to time on these things. Get to know the Thompsons at Allen and Company in Vestavia, right there on Highway 31, Allen and Company. All right, Kenny's up next. What's up, Kenny?
Hey, brother, how are you?
Doing
Hey,
well.
two things. First of all, love your history segment there, talking about Jefferson and the Barbary Pirates and all that. You need to do more stuff like that. America needs a history lesson and a civics lesson. So you need to include that as a daily segment. And second of all, do you remember a guy named Mahmoud Ahmadinejad?
Yeah, that little twerp.
Back
he
back
got
in
it.
the last half of Bush and the first half of Obama, I think that was kind of when they were first getting things on with their nuclear program, and
Yep.
he actually made statements that he thought he was the one that was going to be anointed with bringing about this killing of millions of Jews and Christians that was going to bring this 12th Imam, the Mahdi, in and usher in the Islamic kingdom. I wondered if he's gotten caught up in any of these
He did.
leadership air raids.
He went kaboom within hours of the starting. They demoted him and took him out of that job. He was very forward. You didn't see that a lot with his predecessors, but he was very vocal and mouthy. Remember the time he followed George Bush at the UN, and when he got up there, he said he smelled sulfur, which is a reference to the devil. He basically was saying that Bush left a sulfur smell when he walked off. This guy
Yes,
he was a
that.
butthole in addition to being a crazy person, and he did.
I remember that.
Yeah, he is dead. He's dead right there. Boom.
So they know they got him.
Yep. He gone.
Okay. I was curious. I hadn't heard his name mentioned. So
Poof.
anyway, keep up the good work, man. I love it.
Ahmadinejad poof. Ahmadinejad boom. The boom boom room. Is that the name of that place they met today, AJ, when they were trying to select a new leader? They met at the boom boom room. The boom boom room.
Man, I can see it now.
Ray's boom boom room. That's a whole different meaning. Back in a minute.